Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I'm so grateful to have you here, sharing in this space of growth, healing, and transformation. If you've already subscribed to Loving Everything, thank you for being a part of this beautiful community. Your support means so much, and together, we're creating a space where love in all its forms can be explored and embraced. As you listen to this episode, if it resonates with you, I invite you to like the video and share it with anyone who might benefit from the insights we're diving into today. These conversations are all about expanding our capacity to love ourselves, each other, and the world around us. And if you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to explore my other episodes where we journey into love's deepest, most unconditional forms. Each one is an invitation to reconnect with the parts of yourself that are waiting to be seen, healed, and loved. So thank you for being here. Let's begin.
Hello.
Hi, Avery.
Oh, I'm already wrecking things.
You're good. You're not wrecking anything. Hi, Avery. How are you?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm so great. I'm so excited to talk to you. I appreciate you making the time. I know even though you have a hair salon nearby, that probably makes you a very busy person, along with, I think you mentioned you have like 5 businesses.
Yeah, we got a solid handful, for
Yeah,
sure.
you have lots of things, lots of moving parts. You sound a lot like me that way. So in that regard, I really appreciate you making the time.
Of course.
And I want to get into it with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. So Avery, you describe yourself as an IFS coach, which is internal family systems.
Sure.
And an explorer of the mind and heart. What initially drew you to internal family systems and the work you do today?
Such a great opening question.
You're
And
like,
how
where
much
do I
time you got?
start?
Right. How did I initially get into it? So my husband and I see a therapist we've seen for about 8 years. And I think he was the first person to kind of just get us started with IFS and just some of the framework and how it applied to our relationship, which was wildly helpful. And I sort of started to go down the rabbit hole of, okay, well, what is this? And exploring it more. And then I had a doctor who was my naturopath, and she started talking about IFS. And it was just another theme of like, okay, we're still talking about IFS. I think it
keeps coming up.
Yeah, it keeps coming up. I think it's worth even more exploration.
And this is a while ago. Like it's kind of become a buzzword now.
Totally,
Yeah.
right. And at first I was kind of
well-known. More well-known.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was a little worried, actually, not to sidetrack myself here, but I kind of was worried I like missed the boat on the trend of IFS. I was kind of like, gosh, I don't know if I'm late in the game or something. And the more I went into it, I'm like, I don't think this is going to be a fad. I really don't think it's going to be a trend. Learned all about it, and here we are. But my sort of initial phase into IFS was just the amount of progress that I felt in therapy and as it applies to couples work. But then just as I did more self-study, realizing how moving it was for me just with my own internal world, because my inner world's very deep. And I always struggled with a way to contextualize my inner world or just wrap my head around all of the thoughts that I would have in any given day, any given minute for that matter. And IFS really helped me sort of, I don't love the word compartmentalize, but really start to sort of map out how all of my parts came together, and there's so much nuance.
And why.
And
like how they were formed and why and what they're doing for you. Yeah.
Right, and what they believe about
Totally.
us or me, as a system, and why they have such a hell-bent agenda on whatever they're doing. And it became really fascinating for me. And I think part of the key was getting to a place where you can be really curious about that instead of like judgmental.
Judging.
Yeah, because I think it's really easy. I think most people are like, they're annoyed with some behavior or some way of being, and it's really easy to sort of put an arm out, like to sort of keep that at bay. And I don't know. I think for me, the magic is always how can we like bring that in so that we can learn about it and then therefore like integrate it into our lives in a way that feels better.
Do you feel like it helps? I mean, I know the answer for myself, but do you feel like it helps people express their emotions better?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Especially for people who might be avoidant attachment style per se.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yes. Gosh, so much we could talk about. I feel like.
Go, Avery, go.
I think it removes some of the cloudiness around emotions that we feel, and it destigmatizes some of them. I think a lot of times people are scared to talk about how they feel because of embarrassment or shame or guilt or whatever
Lots
it is.
of shame and guilt.
Yeah, so they don't want to share because they're confused in it for themselves, let alone to share it with someone else. Mm-hmm. They can't quite wrap their head around it. So to be able to not put in a box, again, it's not like, oh, this is where this belongs, but to be able to understand the why of why this is even coming up in the first place, or maybe I don't know why, but I need to share it so that I can figure out the why. You know? I think it feels like a tool very strongly that way.
Yeah, and we're not taught that tool.
We're not taught that tool.
We are so not taught.
Which is wildly frustrating.
Maybe future generations, hopefully.
Hopefully things like this and just the way, culture is different.
Yeah.
I feel like, and my husband, we're from the Midwest, which is even different than how people handle their emotions and things here.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think so many folks in the Midwest, there's this, I don't know, don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Or, that's how I was raised in Orange County.
Yeah, especially with men. I think there's a large, men don't cry kind of.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're of that generation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Totally. Mm-hmm. I never bought into it. Like my family was surprisingly in context of other families, my family was always pretty supportive of me expressing myself emotionally and way more supportive than other people's families. So I'm extremely grateful that I wasn't necessarily in that exact thing, but I saw it all around me, and it can be tough for someone to even want to share something tough that's going on in their mind or in their life. There's so much red tape when you come at it from that lens, or like that they have to have it figured out before they could possibly talk about it. That's another one.
Or possibly have a relationship. A lot of people convince themselves that they need to fix themselves before they actually can have a relationship with you.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I think they would
Good
never.
luck.
Yeah. I'm not sure you'd ever have one of that,
Yeah, you're going to be single.
You're going to be single. But it totally makes sense from a certain perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I could see that a part might be telling you that that's
you have
the
to
case.
Use it together. Totally.
Yeah.
And how that part has really good intentions for you.
And it's really true. It is your truth. Yeah. It's a part of you that actually truly believes that.
Totally. Yeah. And for not bad reason, right? Mm-hmm. There's this book I love for anyone who doesn't know. It's called No Bad Parts. And it's an amazing IFS book.
Is it?
If anyone is curious, it's fantastic.
Okay.
And it gives so much context to, the idea that there are no parts of us that are bad. That all of our parts have a very good reason.
Yes.
To do exactly what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, the book takes it to the extreme. It talks about even homicidal parts of us that in theory are not bad because they have a very good way of protecting, defending the system, even if it's totally misguided and immoral and all these kinds of things. It has a good heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's very
survival.
Interesting. Survival.
Yeah, it's a activation that happened in your childhood that essentially is found a very creative way to navigate situations or environments. Yeah.
Yeah, it's found firm ground. Mm-hmm. This is something I say a lot. It's that part's firm ground to stand on. And when a part finds its thing, it'll go for it. And I think, it's funny that the more we push our parts away or don't befriend our parts, the more likely they are to really push back, really react. It's kind of like real people.
Mm-hmm.
If you ignore a person or their wants, desires, needs, they're going to react. They're going to rebel. Mm-hmm. And I think it's pretty much spot on with us and our internal world, from my perspective.
Did you just apologize?
No. I said from my perspective.
Oh, I thought you said, I'm sorry. And I was like, no need to be sorry.
Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Can you share your journey from mental health advocacy to internal family systems coaching? What pivotal moments led you there? Led you here?
Gosh, again, these are such great questions. I used to be more of a life coach
Yeah.
back in the day. And that is a really misunderstood and widely diverse term. You know,
It is.
some life coaches really work on goals,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
Some life coaches are essentially therapists.
Yeah.
And some life coaches do, maybe just like energy work.
Yep.
So it runs the full gamut.
Yep.
And I had a lot of trouble sort of building my clientele with
too.
life coaching. It didn't flow.
Nope.
I got all kinds of random clients.
And it also has a negative connotation.
It does.
Especially in the counseling world.
Yeah, for sure. And not for bad reason, like some life coaches are amazing and some it's like,
What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's
do
very
you do?
complicated to explain.
And I was judgy when I first heard that term in the Bay Area in a completely different life. Honestly, someone showed up, a husband of somebody that we had just met, and he said he was a life coach. And when he left, I literally was like, what does that guy do every day?
Right.
Let's be serious.
Right. Like, let's get real here. No, totally.
Was he a cheerleader? How does that work?
Yeah. And I think what was interesting is I had a part of me that wanted to, maybe for lack of a better word, help people. That no matter what kind of client I got, I was like, sure.
Yep.
I'll do it.
Yep.
Even if it didn't feel like authentic or genuine or like I would be good at it. I was like, sure, that's what you need. I'll fit the bill. So I had this part of me that just was obsessed with, helping other people, even if it was at the cost of like authenticity or me, And then I would have major imposter syndrome and then, it just sort of spiraled a little bit. And whatever it was, if it was goal setting, if it was, I can't even think of it. This is so long. Financials, like random things. I'm like, this is not what I care about, really.
Yeah.
So I took a pretty big break. And I think the pivotal moment was all of my sort of work up until becoming an IFS coach. I had a very, very strong personal breakthrough with my work with IFS. And that was the thing that I was like, this is it. Like this, it felt like my life's work. Like it was destined to be my life's work at that moment. I don't know if I've ever had more of a sense of that. Because I like a lot of things.
It sounds like.
Yeah, we have lots of businesses, lots of interests, lots of hobbies. But I don't know if I've ever felt such a strong sense of like, this is it. This is the thing that I want to like work with people on. So it's a very long story, which I'm happy to share. But that was a very pivotal moment for me.
Do you currently live in a converted school bus?
We currently live in a house.
Okay.
In North Portland.
Okay.
In about 2 months, we're moving into our bus. Converted school bus. Which is just a wild ride. I mean, literally and figuratively.
I have a friend who lives in one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people, like 3 women.
Quite popular.
Like my Reiki master did it 10 years ago. Yeah. All of a sudden she was just like, bye everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
We're very excited about it. It's a lot of work.
It's so much work. It's so much work even when you're driving it around.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have 2 dogs.
It's like a perpetual camping trip. You're like, where are we going next? And how are we going to get there? And
yeah.
Where are we going to stay? And
totally.
Yeah. When was the last time we dumped? And do we have any issues with the vehicle?
With the bus. Yeah. Where's the trash going?
Yeah.
How are we getting water?
Yeah.
Lots of logistics.
Yes. I do love that lifestyle. Like my ex-husband and I both at different times in our relationship, we had an RV. And so, then we had a 5th wheel.
Did you spend a lot of time traveling around like that?
We didn't spend a lot of time traveling around. Like we never just did a road trip around the U.S. or anything. Neither of us could ever handle that with our careers.
Sure.
But I mean, we traveled to all the national parks in the area. Yeah. And Yeah, the beach a lot, and Burning Man.
You took the RV to Burning Man?
Oh yeah, my
that's a whole
ex-husband
thing, too.
still takes the fifth wheel to Burning Man, no doubt.
Wow.
I have no doubt. I don't think he's missed one
That's so
since
cool.
we went once and then we took a break. I think we went once like in early 2000s. The first time I went was on Baker Beach in San Francisco, like when it was not what it is. The second time was with friends. We went one more time because they were like, it's the best thing. And we're like, we don't get it, but we'll go. And we didn't get it. So we didn't come back for a number of years. Then we came back and we were with a huge sound camp because we both loved music. And so we camped with them for years. I've gone 11 years in a row, minus that first experience. So that's 12 years.
Wow.
He's probably been, by this point, 15 to 18, however many, I don't know.
I've never been, and I really want to. We really want to go.
It's an experience. I've had amazing experiences, amazing years. I've had really shitty years. The weather can really
It was like
suck
bad
you
like
up.
last year or something.
A couple years ago when it rained,
Yeah.
I was, finding it
Yeah.
kind of funny, actually, because I was envisioning him there and we were going through a divorce. Either way.
Sure.
Yeah. There was a
You're like
part of
karma,
me
okay.
that thought it was hilarious
Yes,
that it was
totally.
raining and he was stuck. But either way,
That's right.
not so great for the other people. I don't wish ill will on people. I'm just saying.
Just to be clear.
The timing was funny.
It was interesting timing.
It was an interesting timing.
That's right.
But the weather, it's very hard on your body. If you have any, like if you're a smoker or you have any lung issues, if you grew up with asthma, which I did, you are going to have a hard time breathing. Not constantly, but there's a lot of particles in the air. So it really, it's in a lake bed that is, God, I don't know enough about this to talk about this, but the point is, it's in a lake bed that's dried up, and the actual soil is, I'm probably getting this wrong, but let's just say it's really alkaline. I think it's heavily alkaline. Sure. And so like it cracks your feet if you wear flip-flops. Like you have to protect your feet. You have to protect, it starts to affect your lungs. Like a lot of people kind of, the longer you stay, you cough. So there's sandstorms and windstorms, and it's
a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. So you're out in the middle of the desert. So you're pretty far away from any help. I mean, it's not to say that there isn't infrastructure there, but if you get a flat tire or whatever, it's an issue. Right. And so you have to come prepared for anything. You travel in with all of your water. You can get more water, but you have to pay for it. And you have to be there when you can get water.
Got it.
So it's a whole thing. You run out of fuel because you're running your generator or you're running your air conditioner because it's incredibly hot. You come prepared for everything. And so it takes you several weeks to pack for it, and it takes you several, if not months, depending on if you're a girl and you need 50 outfits or whatever it might be when you're showing up. And then, it takes you 2 weeks to take everything apart, wash everything.
Put it back, and
it's an incredible process that people do. And then that's not even bringing things. I don't know why we're talking about this.
Hey. Here we are.
About burning the on, but everyone's bringing stuff.
Yeah.
So that's not even if you're building out the sound camp, our camp 1 year, I think I got 5 couches on Craigslist because we needed people to sit in our camp. Yeah. So it just, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to do it someday. Maybe. I think I do.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't trying to deter anyone that might want to ever go. There's incredible art. It has changed a tremendous amount when you went and there were, 40,000 people as opposed to, I think it gets up to 80 or 90 or more than that now. It's quite a different feel, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When I was going there weren't famous people showing up with everything already,
Right.
set up for them. And
Yeah.
so it has a different vibe. It has a different vibe. Not that it's better or worse. It's
Sure,
just
but just
different.
different.
Yeah.
It evolves over time.
It evolves.
As most things, I guess.
Yes. And it's a festival, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. So, okay. Back to your converted school bus.
Yes. That's how we got there. Yeah, the bus.
Yeah. And you're going to travel the country?
We are. Yeah, we have family, in the Midwest, and our hearts in a lot of other states, too. We love Oregon, but we also love New York. We've planned to spend a fair amount of time there. Southwest, we're obsessed with Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Sedona, Arizona.
I love Sedona.
Love those places so much. We're
Yeah.
excited to spend months at a time there. And
Cool.
so yeah, we love, there's so many corners of the country that we just love, but also a lot we haven't seen.
Yeah.
We've taken actually quite a few cross-country, circled
Trips.
with map trips, but never that took, 6 months to do, right? It was always getting to the East Coast in 2 days or whatever.
Yeah.
But this time we're going to be able to I think, we're doing no more than 4-hour drives, but we're doing a whole circle around the country in about 9 months, and we head out in September. So it's going to be very fun.
It's going to be very fun.
A lot of time to explore.
That's
So we're
awesome.
stoked.
That's exciting.
Yes, thank you.
What an exciting time in your life. How has this nomadic lifestyle or this upcoming nomadic lifestyle influenced your personal and professional growth?
Yeah. Well, it brings a lot of things up, I think, to consider changing your whole life. It brings a lot to the surface personally about, why am I doing this? What parts want to do this? Are there parts that don't want to do this?
Your camp counselor probably loves it.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Do you have a camp counselor?
Yeah, for sure.
I know I do.
Yes. Yeah. It's a lot going on, and it's surprisingly stirring. But it also makes sense. I guess you're changing everything about your life. All my parts have something to say. And there was a period of time where I was really nervous that I was making the decision for the wrong reasons, on behalf of a part that shouldn't necessarily get what it wants, But I've wrestled with it, and I think there's part of that part is gonna love it. It's great. I'm doing it partly for this part, but I'm also doing it for a lot of other parts and my husband's parts, and we're just excited for the exploration. So we've done a lot of intentional work, teasing through a lot of this stuff just to be sure, is this really something we want to do? So I think just by force, it's brought a lot of personal stuff to the forefront. Just because we like to really be intentional too with all the decisions we make. We don't want to, I think a lot of people might just, we're moving into the bus and going, kind of you said, your Reiki master.
Yeah.
Which I dig. I love that.
I think it was more of an abandonment of lifestyle.
Sure.
It was just done.
And that's one way for sure.
Yeah.
This, we're a couple. We've been together for 13 years. We have 2 dogs. There's a lot of, we have businesses.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much consideration that it's not something we are deciding lightly.
Mm-hmm.
And we also don't know how long it's going to, it could be a season. It could be longer. We could be oh my God, we hate this. So kind of who knows, but also the personal wherewithal to be able to step into that unknown is a whole thing in and of itself. And it's something I probably would not have been able to do 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe. So I've changed quite a lot in the past 6-ish years.
What would have changed? Or what has changed?
Yeah. Honestly, I think COVID really put a very fine point
What did it do
on
for you?
the unknown, because, so at the time, we still owned our salon at that point, but the hair business totally shut down.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or I'm sorry, I misspoke. We were considering opening the salon during COVID, but my husband was working at a different salon at the time, and the salon world totally shut down.
Yeah.
And we had already been exploring opening our own salon, but never had a really strong reason to do it. And then this happened, and, there's all this red tape with, how do people show up, the distancing, the mask, the whole thing.
Yeah.
There was a lot to figure out with a lot of other people. So one day we just looked at each other and we were like, I think it's time. And just that decision to step into opening our own salon came with so much unknown. And we said the whole time, this is either amazing or it's the stupidest thing we could do. Like, we weren't sure if it was a good idea or not, but we moved forward with it very strongly, as if it was the best idea we ever had. So there was like...
You're completely committed.
Completely committed. There's an integration, really, of like, it's 50% I have no idea, and 50% this is amazing. And there, I don't know, there was something special for us about just like going forward, knowing that taught us a lot. I mean, the had moments of it was amazing and it was terrible at the same time. And I think previous versions of me wouldn't have like allowed enough space for those things to exist together. It would have been like, no, we can only do what feels predictable and that I know how each of these things plays out. Because that was definitely how I operated more so pre-COVID. But now I have a very different outlook on it. Surprisingly different. Just very excited for the unknown because I think so much magic is going to come from it. Things we aren't even aware of that could happen. But it's taken a lot of work to get there. A lot of therapy, a lot of parts work, a lot of introspection to be able to be like that these days.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
For those unfamiliar with internal family systems, how would you describe it in your own words?
IFS was born out of, partial treatment for DID, if you know what that is.
I do.
Okay.
Other people might not.
Personality disorder. And it's a very serious disorder, but from that studying... Oh, go ahead.
DID stands for?
Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking.
For is it?
You got me. I totally blanking on the name. It used to be called multiple personality disorder. DID stands for... It'll pop into my head at some point.
Okay.
Personality disorder, basically where people have very different distinct individual personalities they embody.
Yes.
That becomes an uncontrollable thing. And it's really, it wreaks havoc on people's lives for sure. But from that research came the idea of IFS being like a sort of a low-grade version of the idea of that, the idea that we all have multiple parts with multiple personalities, with a set of emotions and totally different personality traits that all culminate into our ways of being. So I guess in my own words, it's a way to understand that we have very different opinions, even within ourselves, about a lot of things.
Very
about how
conflicting.
Very conflicting, how there can be so much internal tension in our own world, which can feel really unsettling for people because it makes us think we don't know what we want or what we care about. And I think it gives context to why we think certain things. I have a part of me that thinks this, and I have a part of me that wants to do this, and they're totally in conflict. So, traditional therapies, talk therapies, think of therapy from like a mono-mind place, meaning, if there's a problem with this one mind, we treat that one mind.
Yeah.
IFS is a non-pathologizing approach to having a poly-mind, having many minds in one. And I think for me, that feels like just a much more holistic approach to how we live. I think it's true. I think it's real. I think there isn't this one mind that we have to put all of our things through that filter. I think a lot of things coexist at the same time, born from trauma, born from how we were raised, born from things that people impose on us at a certain age, all kinds of things. I think parts are born all the time. I don't think there's a limit to how many parts we have. I think parts can have parts, and it becomes a very intricate sort of map. But it's kind of fun if you can get to a point where you're willing to accept whatever is there. I think it could be kind of a good ride,
Okay, you just explained that. What are the most common misconceptions people have about IFS?
Part of what drew me to want to do this podcast with you is because the self-love thing is a really strong theme for me with my IFS work. And I think a misconception maybe about IFS or maybe about how to handle parts is kind of what I touched on earlier. I think people come to IFS thinking like, I want to not do this thing anymore, or I want to not be like that anymore, or I'm so annoyed with this part of me that just wreaks havoc on my life, and they want to put an arm up to it. A lot of people, surprising amount of people will come to IFS as they're also considering hypnosis. It's a very strong correlation that I've noticed for whatever reason. It's like people are considering hypnosis.
I've noticed that too.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, that's validating because it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's the same for me, actually. Like my very, very personal story. I was considering hypnosis for a behavior that I didn't want to do anymore. And at the exact same time, I was learning more about IFS. And so I think, in a roundabout way, I'm saying I think the misconception is most people want to like get rid of something.
Yeah.
And I think it's like almost the opposite.
Yeah.
I think it's
You're embracing
about
it.
embracing, learning,
Yeah.
prioritizing it in a roundabout way so that it can integrate in a way that feels better, feels more productive, fits into your life in a way that doesn't feel as scary.
Disruptive.
Yeah, disruptive,
Yeah.
threatening. Mm-hmm. So I think that answers that.
Okay. The concept of self is central in IFS. How do you guide people to access this core state of being?
Yeah. There's a lot of traits associated with capital self energy, compassionate, curious, kind. There's an openness to self energy, this observing sort of state. With my clients, a lot of times what I'll do is, especially if I sense that a client might be blended with a certain part, which is a technical term that we can talk about in a second, but
Yeah.
if I suspect a client might be blended with a part, I try to get a sense of what their internal world is like how they are with their self energy. So I'll say, what does it look like inside? Does it feel crowded? Does it feel spacious? Does it feel light, dark? Does it feel scary, calm? So I'm trying to get a sense of like where they're at. And I think even just by asking those kinds of questions, which I ask myself all the time. I mean, even on the drive over here, I was like, okay, where am I at with my self energy? Am I blended with a part, or am I feeling pretty centered with self? I think even asking those questions gives us enough of a moment to pause, to center.
Yeah.
I think it's really important when you're doing IFS work to sort of try to be as aware as you can of what your internal world looks like, because everything is stemming from that. If someone's blended with a part to an extreme extent, it's really tough to tease apart what's going on behavior-wise. Then you're speaking from a part. You're speaking from this part. Versus unblending is being able to speak on behalf of said part, not from the part, if that makes sense. Self-energy is also confusing sometimes to know if, am I speaking with self-energy or is this a part? I think one of the biggest questions I get is like, was this self or is this a part? And certainly I would never know. Always the person, knows best. But I think the biggest sign is if there's like really big emotion attached to something, it's usually a part. Or it's usually maybe a manager or a firefighter managing said exile part.
Yeah.
If the thought or the feelings are more neutral, more kind of like this tone of voice, right? Like a little bit lighter, a little bit calmer, a little more chill, it's usually self energy. But if there's like this intensity or this
frenzy
or
panic.
Right. Usually those are signals that this is a part.
Yeah.
That I'm speaking from a part.
Yeah. I think I told you that I took an overview basically of IFS a couple of weeks ago before you and I had originally spoke.
Cool.
And I thought that the firefighter,
No, I'm doing the same thing. I'm
the firefighter. Sorry, did I make your eye itch?
No, yeah, apparently you're right.
The firefighter and manager was making me crack up because
the analogy, the idea of
yes. Well, and then once, how about this? I don't know about you, but when I learn a new evidence-based technique, for lack of a better way of encapsulating it, and I understand, I just see people for like the next 48 hours, I see people so different, or conversations show up differently.
Oh, for sure.
Where I'm like, Oh.
Yeah. Totally.
That was totally their manager doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fairly enlightening, not only for myself, but then just the people around me. I was just cracking up. Yeah.
I think you're spot on. I think that's one of the gifts of IFS. I often talk about things like the gifts of IFS. I don't know, because there's, like, this is an example. Something that IFS like has a sort of butterfly effect with. And you're right. Like, the more you can be aware of this in yourself, the more you can be aware of it with other people.
Yes.
And it all of a sudden makes a lot of things make sense. You know, and with my
it's
husband.
easier to navigate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to navigate. Or just people are strangers, you know, in your coffee shop, someone gives you a weird vibe. You can kind of sort of start to be like, okay, maybe this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And of course we don't like,
No.
But it gives us a little like, okay, this might be what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's very cool because you can, I mean, I think it creates a lot more empathy, compassion, understanding than like, I don't get your problem, you know, instead of this. Again, it's like, okay, I kind of see you.
Yeah.
Some version of what's going on here.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool.
It is cool. What does the process of unburdening look like in IFS, and how does it support transformation?
Yeah. Do you want me to give a very specific story?
Sure.
Or, because I can give you my personal story about it.
Whatever you want to share.
Well, in a nutshell, I'll say, you know, our parts, our exiles, have a very specific belief about us as a system. They have very specific ways of helping, right? Even if that help is particularly problematic, it's based on some belief that they have about what they have to do to protect us. And at the end of the day, it usually always comes back to survival, some version of protection. And it's often the case that their way of trying to do that is so unwarranted. It's not really helping. You know, it's hurting. And a lot of people, sorry, I slapped your mic here. A lot of people, like, want to stop a behavior, like a lot of addiction, a lot of alcoholism. They think IFS will help, and it certainly could and does. But the part of them that wants to, let's say, drink.
Yeah.
They're doing it for a very good reason. You know, that part believes that drinking is the answer to protecting their pain.
Yeah.
Ironically, it has its own
side
effects and problems in our lives. But from that part's limited view, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
So I think the process of unburdening an exile is essentially, well, I think you have to learn about the pain of this exile. I think most of us do not spend nearly enough time hearing from those exiles, or even before that, making contact with an exile is a huge deal, because I think most people might have this, you know, faint, vague idea of the pain, but to be able to like visualize the little person in us that carries this pain is a huge deal. Being able to understand it, embody it, you know, how does it feel in my body when I hear from this part, where do I feel it? To be able to understand why it does what it does. And then the associated parts, the associated managers, firefighters, why are they doing what they're doing to protect this exile? And then eventually getting to the point where we can reparent our exiles from our self energy, which sort of reassigns the roles that our managers and firefighters have. I feel like it's often the case that even if we have a manager that does XYZ, the manager really doesn't want to do that. It really wants to do something else, but it feels like it has to do this thing. So I feel like it's more often the case that as soon as the manager doesn't have to do the thing, it's like, oh, that's amazing. I can do this thing I actually want to do. So it's a really beautiful, like, dissolving of these rigid boundaries that our parts have set for us. And it's very powerful. So that's the nutshell version. And I can give you my personal.
Please do.
And this is the answer to your previous question too about like my journey into IFS, and it gets personal, but I'm okay sharing.
Please.
But I'll keep it somewhat abbreviated, maybe. Growing up, I had a relatively rough childhood. When I was very young, around 5, my dad left my house. My parents were divorced. My dad left the house. When he left the house, he said something to me to the effect of, "You're the man of the house now. You have to take care of your mom." And I was 5, roughly. And I remember it really clear. My mom has told me the story a billion times, but I also remember
it.
I have, sort of a vague whatever.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
It really changed me in that moment. I immediately took on this belief that I had to control and manage everything. I had to save the day, not only for my mom, but for anyone else. I also mentioned earlier that I had this part that would be a life coach, right?
Yeah, help anyone.
Financials.
Yeah.
It was that.
Yes.
It was that part.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to where I was. So I have this part now that believes that the weight of the world is on my shoulders at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old as I get older. I was biting my hands.
You were biting.
I was biting my hands, my fingers, my nails, and my skin.
Oh, okay, like nail biting.
Nail biting, but it was also all down my fingers,
Yeah.
All the parts of my hands. And it started around that time, and it went on my entire adult life. I could not stop. It was really bad my whole life. Like, I wouldn't show people my hands. I had no nails. I had wounds. I had constant infections all over my hands, and it was just such a compulsive thing I couldn't stop.
I cannot wait to hear what you've learned about this.
See where I'm going with it. Yeah, it was so strong. I mean, it got to a point, a handful of years ago at this point, where I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to lose my hands. Like, it was so impulsive. I would bite my hands, and everyone around me would call it out. My mom would say, stop biting your hands.
Yeah,
or my husband would say, you're really biting your hands.
Yeah.
And I would have almost no awareness that I was doing it. And I started okay, I'm biting my hands. What's going on in my head? Like, why is this happening? And this was real strong IFS. This was still while I was learning about IFS. And this was leading up to the sort of pivotal moment for me with IFS. But I was like, what's going on? Every time I bite my hands, what am I thinking about? And I would notice, unsurprisingly maybe, that I was just really stressed when I was biting my hands, right? Kind of like when people bite their nails, they're oftentimes really stressed. But it was linked to...
My mouth's open because I've bitten my fingernails in my entire life. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still do when I get really stressed.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's super common. And mine had...
Which is why mine are done now.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have some nail, which is amazing.
Yeah.
For so much of my life, I didn't.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I'm realizing this link between anxiety and biting my skin and my nails, and it escalates, right, from nails for me. It did from nails to skin to and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I started to realize that it was a deeper version of anxiety. It wasn't like intelligible anxiety, if that makes sense. I wasn't like, oh, I know why I'm anxious. It felt very regressed. It felt very young.
Yeah.
And it coincided with almost no thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't put together a sentence. And that was really curious to me. And one day I was able, through much conversation and much work, actually made contact with this part visually. So what that means for me, it sounds a little woo-woo just saying it like that, but I worked a lot in my mind to sort of visualize the age of the part that started biting.
Yeah.
How I looked when I was 5, or how I assume I look when I was 5. And I finally was able to put together this visual of what I looked like. And all of a sudden, it's maybe emotional just talking about it, I just saw him clear, plain as day in my mind. Like, oh my God, there he is. I'm meeting him essentially for the first time. And that wasn't the super pivotal moment, but that was pivotal moment number 1 of like, wow, I can actually kind of talk to this part now.
Yeah, it's your inner child.
A version of my inner child.
Yeah.
I think I have many inner children, but
we all do.
But this particular version,
predominantly a particular age, usually.
This particular
younger age, and then usually a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this 5-year-old, which I totally have the teenager part for sure, but this 5-year-old, we
all do.
Yeah, very true.
That's why I was laughing at the manager and the firefighter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Totally. Mm-hmm. So I made contact with him. I'm getting to know him. Months go by, yada, yada, yada. I'm cultivating more awareness, etc. Then I realized that this has this belief, this biting hands part, I'll say, has this belief that the weight of the world is still on its shoulders. But at that point, I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
And one day it was so bad. I was driving towards Sauvie Island. I was biting away in my hands. And I just realized that it was so bad. And I pulled over to the side of the road, like in the middle of driving. I just completely pulled over, and I had this very in-depth conversation with myself. But I said directly to this part, I said, you are 5 years old. You do not have to solve my 30-year-old problems anymore. And even if you wanted to, you really can't. You don't know what it's like to be 30. You're 5. And I said that to myself for like 10 minutes, and I never bit my hands ever again. Like, literally flip of a switch. It was not a habit I had to break, and it was a total emotional breakdown in the car. I was sitting there sobbing. And it was the most unbelievable release of pressure that I had ever felt. And I really feel like that part believed me. The part knew that I knew why it was biting my hands, first of all. It knew that it was trying to solve my problems. I think I was stressing about, rent or car payment or something, right?
Yeah.
And my 5-year-old's like, okay, how do we pay rent? But we know, logically, this 5-year-old does not know how to pay our rent. Hence, the sort of blank mind, it couldn't really piece together. It's like, okay, we got to pay rent, but like, wait, what's rent? You know what I'm saying? So it sort of had that really childlike energy.
Yeah.
And I would get stuck in these serious loops, and I would lose chunks of time. Like, that was another thing, is when I was biting my hands, I would lose time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have memories.
Yeah, disassociate completely.
Totally
out of your
dissociate.
body. Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, all that work had come to a head where I was like, you don't have to do this anymore. And that was it. And a part of me gets really self-conscious to tell that story only because it seems so black and white. But I'm talking about years of work leading up to that point.
Complex. You're a complex human being.
It's complex, yeah. And it's that was in that moment I was like, whoa, there's something here.
Yeah.
And that was the moment for me where I was like, IFS is my
your thing.
Yeah.
It's your thing. Yeah.
So I would say that's like unburdening. To answer your initial question, that's like unburdening an exile. I told it it did not have to do that job anymore. And since then, I found really cool new ways for that part to still be in my life, but in a totally different way.
Give us an example.
Like play. I mean, which sounds maybe too reductive, but 5-year-olds, what do they do best? Generally speaking, they play. Not really me as a 5-year-old, because I was just kind of a different kid.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays, like, I can be like, now you can really help experience what play is supposed to be like. You can contribute to my life in like lighthearted, playful, silly, joking kind of ways, and not be so serious. And it's really helped. I mean, because I used to be pretty, what's the word? Stoic, not fun. Serious. Yeah.
I was a very serious kid too.
Yeah, very serious. And then I'm like, no, I don't
I'm a pretty serious person in general.
Yeah, I mean, I am too for sure, but I'm so grateful that I've been able to infuse a lot more moments of just play and silliness.
Yeah.
And I think, just to fast, that's sort of what leads to the bus thing too, is like it's our time to like have fun and it's still going to be serious, right? Like dumping and the trash and the blah, but it comes along with this fun that I'm excited for.
I'm excited for you too.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. It's an adventure. I love adventures. My child loves adventures. So does my camp counselor. Okay. You already explained that. Okay. How do you integrate IFS with your own experiences of exploration, whether that's travel, relationships, or creative pursuits?
Can you ask it again?
Yes. How do you integrate IFS with your own experiences of exploration, whether that's travel, relationships, or creative pursuits?
Yeah, I think nowadays it feels the idea of IFS and working through all that stuff in real time feels so important to me that it really bleeds into a lot of moments that I have. I mean, even in this moment, talking to you, I have sort of a constant negotiation with parts about what's coming up. And, so it's really into that sort of way. the awareness is really integrated, which for me feels really special because I can bring my whole self into most everything that I do, even if it feels a little, there's a difference, I think, between being aware and holding space for everything and feeling grounded in a certain part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least most of the time I can bring my whole self to the table. That doesn't necessarily mean I feel like great about it, you know, but I can like, okay, so I'm very aware of all these thoughts happening, and it can make moments richer. I think integration was my like word of the year now for 3 years in a row, because I felt this really strong drive to feel integrated. Like I didn't have to be this person here and this person here. That all of me had gifts in different categories, just depending on what the situation was. And to not feel like, okay, I have to leave my silliness at the door because we're talking about bills or whatever it is, you know, or I have to leave my seriousness at the door because we're jumping in, I don't know, a river in Yosemite, you know, which is, I'm obsessed with natural water, like swimming in natural waters, by the way. So that's something that's going to happen a lot on the bus. But yeah, I feel like everything works so much better if you can integrate the concept of IFS into just existing, if that makes sense. I think that answers that.
What are you naturally gifted in?
Let me think about that for a second here. Am I naturally gifted in? My first thing I just thought of was creativity. I think I'm fairly creative, but I think that creativity has looked very different. I mean, I think the bus is one version of creativity. It's a lot of work, but it's also a creative outlet. I also went to school for music, so like opera, and that I was, you know, very heavily involved in music.
Do you sing?
I do. Yeah, not so much these days, only because, well, that's a whole thing. But choir is like choral music is where my heart is.
I was in choir.
It's not so much like solo operatic singing. I mean, I love that, but my heart's more in choral music, and I have a dream of having my own choir one day. So it's sort of on the back burner, but it's still very much
Come back to
my heart.
Portland.
I mean,
Create
it
an
would be a great
acapella
place.
group.
There's a lot of singers on the West Coast. Yeah, so I do sing, but yeah, I think creativity. You know, there's creativity there. There's creativity with business. I think everything we do has threads of creativity, even if it's serious. I think people conflate like serious things and creativity. I feel like people think that it's either one or the other, and I don't think that's true. Even just how we talk to our clients at the salon, you know, there's sort of an art and a dance about how you communicate things that's creative. So I think that's my answer. It's creativity.
What do you love doing more than anything else?
I think kind of this. I think talking. I'm very much an out loud processor. Yeah, I think I'm a funny combo of extrovert and introvert. I definitely have moments where I like to be alone to recharge, and then moments like this that feel recharging. But I'm definitely I love engagement. I think is something that I love to do, even if it's like bad, like even like not great conversations with people. Like there's just some part of me that just loves the engagement. And loves to be connected to people, kind of regardless of what's going on. I don't think I'd do really well isolated, like without anyone around.
Yeah, I can't imagine that for you.
I'm also not like a 200 people at a party kind of person. It's more like this.
Yeah,
you know,
one-on-one.
2 people.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think that's what I really enjoy.
What makes you the happiest?
You know, the first thing that popped in my mind was my husband. Yeah, that's tender for me. He's an amazing person. And I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but that was the very first thing that popped into my head because
I didn't have an answer in mind.
He's a great person, and we've been together for so long now, and we are building a life. We've built a life that we're excited about, and we're continuing to build a life that we're excited about, and that's not easy.
No, it is not.
It's not easy to have all the tough conversations that lead up to it in any of the moments. It can be a lot to handle, especially just, making space for the other person's everything,
Yep.
is a thing, is a
Yes.
task, a chore all in of itself.
Yeah.
But he really, really, really makes me happy. And I think years ago I might have been really nervous to say that, because that's sort of putting my happiness on someone else in a way. But it's just the truth. He brings so much joy into my life, and he's there every time I need him to be. Every time I look for him, he's there, and it's just I'm very grateful for it. Yeah.
What old ideas of yourself are you outgrowing, and what is this leaving space for?
Yeah, old versions of myself. I have a a version of me that was very calculated, very planned, very type A. Not that I'm not type A now. I don't even know what type I am these days, but
Yeah.
I very much operated from a planned place. And it was mostly out of fear of the unknown, right? If I can control it, then fantastic.
Yep.
If I know exactly what I'm walking into, then great. And I don't know. I'm so fed up with that these days. Almost the other end of the spectrum. Although I'm working to come towards center, because I don't think it's necessary to go completely
Yeah.
to the other side. But I sort of reject and rebel against things that feel too planned, that feel too rigid. It just feels really unsettling more to me these days. So I think that makes room for moments of unexpectedness, unexpected joy, unexpected fun. It can also make room for unexpected problems, tragedy, sadness, sorrow. But that's one thing that I'm really passionate about is, I could live this sort of planned, expected trajectory life thing, and I might know more or less what's coming. It might not be like amazing, and it might not be terrible, but I kind of know what's going on. I think the zone that I'm really trying to step in these days is the vulnerability to experience the high highs, but I also know that means I have to have the vulnerability to experience the super low lows. I don't know if it's that black and white, but for me at least, it feels like track A and track B. And track A is the certain track, and track B is like super high and super low, but it's always something. It's, or somewhere in the middle, right? But it's more of a diverse life experience and less of, a planned, rigid box.
What are you still working on healing?
Yeah, that 5-year-old part who I call Albie, that was my nickname growing up. Albie still carries, for sure, I'm still working on the burden that he...
Yeah, it's not like we can solve it.
Totally. And it's not like it ever goes
Completely.
away.
No.
Yeah, it's just learning
That's
creative.
not the goal.
That's not the goal, right.
No.
I think it's continuing to give him attention. I think that's one thing I'm learning right now is I think maybe at the beginning I thought, great, check,
Yeah.
good. And I think now I
Albie,
realize, right, I took care of you. You're fine.
Yeah.
But now it feels like, no, like we're just in a different chapter now.
Yeah.
I think I need to reparent him different all the time.
Yeah.
And that always looks different and feels different. And old beliefs about not only him, but when I was a teen and the kind of responsibility I had and what that meant for me as a person. Like I started working when I was like 13 or something like that, and pretty much had to buy most of my like household essentials at a very young age, deodorant, shampoo, of the like. So that sort of created this belief for me, like, that I have to above and beyond. I'm the only one who can take care of myself. And not only that, but I have to take care of everyone else. That played a really large role in my life. And I'm starting to also like push back on that even more, which I think sometimes can make me seem really dismissive or like I don't care about things, as compared to my old way of being. I might be more like, that's your problem. I don't know, which is a bit less like how I used to be. It used to be more like, cool, my problem too. Let's figure it out. And I'm a little less like that this day in a way that feels good. Yeah, there's a lot of moments in my life that felt very traumatic, I guess, for lack of a better word, just things that really influenced the narrative that I had about myself, and a lot of painful moments. And I don't want to like forget those moments either, I think is a big thing. Again, I don't want to push it away. I really want to be able to like embrace all those things because of what I know is on the other side. But I mean, it's painful. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, oh, great, let's come on in, join the party. You know, it's like really tough to be willing to explore those really painful moments.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I think very beautiful if you can.
Yeah, it makes you a better version of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is the goal.
I'm
But
pretty sure it's some version
not
of the goal.
everyone gets that goal, which is fine.
Totally.
Let's see.
Actually, can I make a comment about what you just said?
Yes.
I think trust, I think, is the goal. I think for a lot of people, they don't necessarily want to grow. They want to feel like they can trust themselves more, which, I mean, arguably is a version of growth.
I love that you're bringing this up.
But I think that's a big portion of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why people don't change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they think they don't trust themselves to make the right decisions, or kind of like what I said about the bus thing, right? Like, am I making this decision for the right reasons?
Yeah.
You know, but I think learning to trust our parts and having our parts trust us in return, and having this sort of coalition of trust, which I've never said before, but I love it. I think is really...
Let's trademark that for
I
you.
think I'm going to. You heard it here first, folks. Yeah, I think that's like what people really want. I think from that can create a lot of safety and room to grow. But I don't know if that's like most people's initial reason for personal growth. I think in all the personal growth work I've ever done, all the conversations, it's like they want to feel grounded in themselves.
Yeah.
Even if shit's hitting the fan everywhere.
Yes.
They just want to feel like, okay,
I have a toolbox.
Yeah.
I can soothe
trust
myself.
where I am.
Yeah.
Totally. So just to add that on.
Let's see. You covered a lot of this. Okay. How do you feel we can incorporate more love for ourselves and for the world around us?
Something I'm very passionate about these days. I think we've talked about it in ways, right? I think there's such a big shift from the arm out to welcoming these things in. I think that goes for the parts of us. I think it goes for the parts of other people. I think it goes for different opinions. I think it goes to different ways people think about things. The opposite of division. You know, I think especially in the world and all of its everything these days, I think it's really important to remember that I don't think we make progress with trying to be as divided as possible, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm okay saying that.
Yes. You're okay saying whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I think it might feel really counterintuitive for a lot of folks to try to embrace someone else's point of view or someone else's hurt, especially if they've hurt you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's how we cultivate, love for ourselves, but other people, and it creates community. And I personally, I'm a fan. I kind of geek out over having friends or conversations with people where we disagree about something. It doesn't feel so triggering for me, because I think I can leave the conversation and still very much disagree, but like also appreciate why they think the way they do. I think there's like something beautiful and loving about just that. I think most people want that for themselves too. I think it gets rid of like a lot of hypocrisy. Like, I want them to, I don't know, be okay with my opinion, but I don't want to be okay with theirs. I mean, I don't think that creates love. I think it's very much a two-way street in that regard. And I think it's extrapolated not only from ourselves, but to everyone around us. If that makes sense.
What was it like growing up in your family?
Tough in moments. My parents were divorced at a very young age, like I mentioned. My mom was always there for me. My mom and I have a very good relationship even to this day, which I'm very grateful for. My dad, not a great person. I don't really have a relationship with him at all. We've had intentional conversations about that, and more or less I've decided I just don't want to have him in my life that much. And yeah, that caused a lot of tension growing up. I had to mitigate the chaos of my life, with things that I could do, like working, right? Or I was constantly at school. I was the director of, musicals and church choirs and all the things to keep me busy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I ate alone. I had my basement room was like a mini apartment. I didn't really spend time with my dad, and because I lived with my dad at a certain point, and my dad and his wife, my stepmom, and my stepsister, I didn't really spend much time with them. I kind of just did my own thing. I lived with my mom until I was 8, and then I asked to live with my dad, which was a huge, I think, slap in the face for her. And I don't know if I regret it because I did it for my reasons then, but it was an interesting decision. I think I was craving maybe more stability, and I think I saw that in my dad more, just to have it sort of ripped away more than I expected, if that makes sense. So it was very tumultuous. A lot of beautiful moments too, obviously. My mom and I really have been close my whole life. We've been friends, I think, more than a lot of kids and their moms, which I am really grateful for. We talk almost every day now, which is amazing. But yeah, a lot of tenderness, a lot of struggle. Grew up very little means, not much money at all. I think that was something I saw in my dad, was theoretically more money maybe than my mom, but that really wasn't true. It didn't end up being true because I ended up having to buy a lot of my own stuff anyway. So it was very complicated to navigate at such a young age.
And you mentioned that it was ripped from you. What did you mean by that?
I think this idea that I was going to somewhere that was secure or stable. I think as an 8-year-old, I think I saw, I don't know, money, a new sister on the way, all these things that looked like stability to an 8-year-old, just to be faced with the hard reality that actually it isn't. And I think that's the ripped away. It's like the floor removed from under you.
Did you feel like you were a part of that family? Or did you always feel like,
No.
You didn't feel accepted?
Yeah. I felt accepted by my mom, for sure.
Yes.
But not my dad.
But not your dad and his family.
Yeah. I have a relatively good relationship with my sister. She's much younger. I mean, she's 8 years younger than me. But we have a good relationship. But no, I didn't feel a part of it. No, I always felt like an outsider, which is not something I know if I've ever said out loud or really owned.
Really?
I didn't feel like I fit in with them. Yeah, or wasn't accepted or wasn't part of that family. It was kind of like I was a roommate, I did my own laundry. You know what I'm saying? I had my own life, but in the basement, and then they had their own life
above
in
you.
the living room.
Yeah.
Very.
So you were lonely.
Yeah.
And did you live there all the way up until you moved out?
To college.
Yeah, to college.
I did. But I was always like, okay, I got my car early, right? I'm going to drive because that means independence.
Yeah.
The second I can go to college, I'm going to go to college. I would stay at the school until 7 p.m., until the janitors are kicking me out kind of thing, So that was always would be in my car all the time. And a loner in a way, but I was always had that person, I had boyfriends in high school and stuff like that. And was always close with them. They were my chosen family. I was always very close with whoever that was. And didn't like to spend a lot of time alone that way.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, never felt like I fit in with that family.
Huh.
Which was tough.
Yeah. I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. What was your earliest memory of love?
My earliest memory of love.
Do you remember who it was with?
Gosh, why do I feel like that's such a complex question? Of course, my
It
mom.
is.
I experienced love for my mom. I remember at a very young age feeling that kind of love. I always knew she cared. She always had this. She had a really rough childhood herself, and she would always say, "I don't know the right way to raise a kid, but I know the wrong way to raise a kid."
I love that.
I love that too, and I think at the heart of what she's saying is like, "I'm going to do the best I can because I love you." So I think that felt like love. And I always appreciated that transparency. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm not a parent. I feel like that might be hard for a parent to say to their kid. I don't know. But she was just so like, this is me. This is where I'm at, And I always appreciated
it's great
that.
Awareness
Yeah.
to say to a kid.
Totally.
Because it's realistic.
Totally.
I went through this entire period of time. I think my daughter must have been, in a stroller, basically. But I think there was this distinct pivotal moment when I asked my dad a question and he didn't know the answer. And I was in my 20s by then, and I was so dumbfounded that he might not know something.
Right. Like what? How do you not know? Yeah.
Because he has always been all knowing.
Yeah.
Even when he didn't know, he would take over or know more or find out more, So he was fairly dominating, still is. And so, when he said, I don't know if at that time he was just irritated with my question, didn't want to answer,
right.
or if he really didn't know the answer. But I remember just being like, how do you not know? You've always known.
Yeah. Do you think at that moment you appreciated him more for seeing him maybe as this more infallible person, or were you kind of just more confused and like that doesn't track?
I think I was,
or something else.
I think it was something else.
Yeah.
I think for me, it I felt more educated. Like for me, I was in my early 20s, so I was like, how could you not know?
Like it feels like maybe a basic question.
Yeah. I think it was a fairly basic question, but yeah.
You wanted his perspective. And
and he was like, I don't know. And I was like, how could you not know?
Yeah.
So for me, I think it was a turning point because my mother didn't go to college. I am, besides my father, the most educated in my family. And so, not that I looked down on my two siblings because they didn't choose to pursue it, but it has definitely shifted my relationship to, not that it already wasn't, but it has shifted my relationship towards my family or with my family because they come from it from a standpoint of I am educated, and so don't be lecturing me or telling me what you know because you don't know more than me, right? So
you might have a part that you know better than I, but you might have a part that feels like maybe a little like, I don't like the word superior, but kind of like, I'm the educated one. And even if self knows like, we'll take that, we'll integrate that with everything else, take it with a grain of salt in moments, but it makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm the first person to, I can't remember. I think my mom and dad, I think they both got their GED after high school. I think I'm the first person to have to graduate high school and then go beyond, just sort of in a lineage. But yeah.
What's one social cause you're passionate about?
Social. The first thing that popped to my mind was gay rights, queer rights. I don't know if we'd classify that as social or not, but obviously I'm gay. I have a husband, and that means a lot to me to be able to be married, for the rights of queer folks to be protected. And I think that's a big. I think it's really important. I also think it feels really tough because as a person, we only have so much control of how far it goes up the chain, right? So I think so much of how those things can be protected is in our individual interactions with people. So I think that's another reason why, like, I'm so passionate about the clashing of opinions thing, you know, being able to accept other people's opinions, because I think that's the level that we make a difference, is like in our personal interactions with people. We might not be able to change policy by ourselves, and sure, we can protest and we can work on that with other folks. And that's very impactful. Actually, our therapist, he was a huge reason why gay marriage was legalized, which is really cool.
What an awesome person to be able to work with.
Totally,
Yeah.
right? So there's that level. And I think another level is fighting for these social causes just person to person,
Yes.
you know, and not turning a blind eye if you see someone discriminating against a trans person, a gay person, whatever it is, or anyone for that matter, any color, you know. So I think there's that, like the diversity and inclusion and that whole thing feels really important to me. Yeah. Yeah, there's more I could say about that. It's tough in a climate that might feel more torn apart than we'd like.
Yeah.
I think it feels really
I think you're
tough.
articulating it really well.
Oh, well, thanks. Feels like a lot of red tape, but you know what I mean? I think it's important
Without
and
deep
tricky.
diving into politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is, there's only so much we can do up there,
Yes.
you know, but down here we have a lot of impact, just how you treat the barista at the coffee shop. You know what I mean? How you, whatever, you know, I think a lot happens there.
Yes.
That probably matters.
Even
I don't want to
more.
say more, but maybe.
In some ways,
Yeah, maybe more
more.
than policy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's this whole sort of queer dialogue about, it doesn't really matter what they do. We're going to stand together, you know? And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So yeah, in ways more important for sure.
What's one thing you wish more people cared about or talked about more frequently?
I mean, emotion, I guess, popped right into my head. Talk about their feelings, talk about their emotions. But I think specifically talk about things that feel more taboo emotionally, like that feel harder to share.
Like?
Like a great example, like my husband and I, in the earlier days of therapy, we did something called core negative imaging or negative core imaging, whatever. But it was basically in front of each other, we sort of casted this very negative image of what we thought of the other person in a way that was safe, right? Safe enough. We were with our therapist and we both were sort of prepped for it, knew what we were walking into. But we were able to sort of draw out our sort of worst thoughts about the other person. And I forget what we said, but you know, they're selfish and mean and cruel and just cares about work or whatever it is. And it gives that space to like, okay, this is what came up. Now let's explore all of that. And it was probably one of my favorite sessions because, again,
and it's
we were
called
prepped.
negative
core imaging.
Yeah.
I'm not the
love
expert on it,
this.
so don't quote me. But it was a fantastic exercise because it just destigmatized all the negative things that we were both
Yeah.
thinking about each other. And we were able to say in a way that like held it lightly enough to explore. So I'm not saying negative core imaging is the thing, but something that's hard to share.
Yeah.
You know, or I think enough people don't, or I don't think enough people talk about suicide in a I think there's different kinds of, again, I'm not an expert on this topic, so take it with a grain of salt, but I think there's a difference between someone who wants to take their own life and someone who fantasizes about the idea of not existing anymore. I think there's a very different thought, and I think it's really tough to talk about in mental health because people might jump to conclusions. Oh, you're suicidal. Let's get someone involved. And I think there's certainly a place for that, but I think there's a whole other category where it's like, I don't necessarily envision me taking my life, but I envision the bliss of not being here anymore. Mm-hmm. And the relief of stress that I would feel just to not have to deal with whatever, anything. And I think they're very different things. Mm-hmm. And the more I talk about it with people, I think that might be an existential feeling. Mm-hmm. You know, I think I'm hard pressed to find someone who hasn't thought that before, but I don't think enough people talk about it like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it has to be the scary conversation. You know, I remember talking to my therapist. I have an individual therapist and our couples therapist. And every time I try to talk about something like that, I feel myself with like a billion disclaimers. Like, I'm fine. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this hard thing. You know? And it's kind of funny, but yeah, I think there's something so human about that feeling, a feeling like, what if I just wasn't here? And it doesn't have to be scary.
What would that be like?
Yeah.
Would people miss me?
Would people miss me?
Do they need me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would people's
useful?
reactions be? Right. Or totally. Yeah. All those things. But I think, there's so much sort of narrative and connotation around that it makes it hard.
And stigma.
People. Yeah.
A lot of stigma.
So.
If you died, here's an existential question for you. If you died but could come back to Earth for 5 minutes just to experience one last thing, what would it be?
I think also my husband. Yeah, I think at first I had many thoughts. I thought my husband, and I thought Nigel, my dog, who's he's getting much older. Then I thought something nature related, like going to a certain spot, although there's many that I love. But I think, my gut answer again was Casey, my husband. I think it's never going to be enough time.
It will never be enough time.
And, death is obviously unavoidable, and it freaks me out. Like, I actually, to answer your question about healing, the existential crisis of death is something I really am working on these days.
Me too.
It's tough.
It is. It gets tougher as you get older.
Oh, great.
Well, your perception of what that means is very different, and it gets triggered in different ways. I'll give you an example. My daughter, last month, I don't know when, sends me a text with pictures of her riding my sister's horse when she's like 2 years old, and my mom's sitting on the horse behind her, and my dad is leading the horse. And it's this image, right? And I say, oh, yeah, I have those pictures. And then something occurred to me to do the math. Because I was 23 when I got pregnant with her. And I did the math, and I realized my mom in the photo was only 2 years older than I am now.
Wow, right.
And
so it hits different.
So it hits very different, right? There's oh my God, that time period that's encapsulated for me where I watched her grow up. In that time period, my mom was my age, and now how I view her, there's no denying she's at the end of her life. Yeah. I have that much time.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yep.
Because again, I don't know.
You don't know.
None of us do. And then there's the visualization of the picture of my mom at that age and me comparing who I am now at that age. Then there's the perspective of who I thought she was.
Sure. Yep.
Compared to who she might be now that I have the perspective of what 51 looks like.
Totally.
Right? There's all these different things that wouldn't have occurred to me 10 years ago because I still considered myself young.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I consider myself old.
Sure.
But
just totally different.
But it's a very different perspective.
Yeah.
And so as when people meet me and they hear about all the things that I'm doing, I'm doing them by myself. Like I don't have a partner where we're like, and so people are always like, you are so busy.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, I think I always was. Meaning I was always the person behind my husband's success. I was his champion and cheerleader. And same thing for my daughter. That was my role.
Yeah.
That was one of my parts.
Sure.
For sure.
Totally.
And I did it really well. And I didn't do it so great for myself.
Yeah.
And so when those two people exited my life, I'm not saying that I don't have a relationship with my daughter because I, of course, do. But obviously my ex-husband isn't in my day-to-day life now. And so when that chapter opened, it essentially did a couple of things. One, it highlighted what is this next chapter like?
Yeah.
And if I am creating this next chapter and I'm completely in charge of what that looks like, how am I spending this time? And if I spent all of that time where I didn't always get the help that I needed, and I always swore when I got more resource that I would give back to the things that did give to me, because I certainly didn't do it on my own.
Yeah.
But it really opened up this perspective, like the picture being confirmation. I only have so much time. I don't really know what that is.
Right.
And when you're in your 20s, you're not thinking about that.
Totally.
When you're in your 40s, you still are kind of almost not thinking about that. You've started to think about it, but you're like,
dipped your toes,
I still have time. I still have time, And so now at this perspective, it's like, how do I want to spend the rest of my life?
Yeah.
How do I really want to spend it? And I don't know that everyone has the opportunity to really have that pivot point. Maybe some people do that in what is considered their midlife crisis or their Saturn return. But ultimately, I think you do make a conscious decision at around 50 where you're like, is this how it goes?
Right.
Do I sail off in the distance and this is how it continues to play out? Or do I make a change here for the little time that I might have left? And so...
Well, I think that's a bold, courageous, choice. I think a lot of people might not do that, right? I think they might, here we go.
I've done that my whole life.
Right, yeah.
That's just kind of who I am.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of folks that would feel more comfortable just
coasting.
This is what I got. This is where I'm staying.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything morally wrong with that, right? But I think it's a very bold, courageous, enriching choice to be, okay, well, what do I want? So that's kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So big conversations about death and, thoughts about okay, you are in partnership. When I originally got married, I thought we would be together forever, right? And there is no way to know.
Yeah.
There really is no way to know. What I've really, because I've been dating myself this last year. And
oh my gosh, I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was suggested to me by a partner that I was dating during my divorce and then my divorce attorney. Both turned to me at different times. Yeah. And they said, after this, you really should just spend some time with yourself because you've spent your entire life being this and this and all of these things, right? Maybe just be you.
I love that.
And so in that process, thank you. In that process, I've been very contemplative. Now I'm going to probably forget what I was going to tell you, but I've been very contemplative in this process of okay, in a relationship, there are no guarantees, right? I might hopefully start another relationship at this part of time in my life, but ultimately I end up at some point by myself again.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's with somebody.
Totally.
Hopefully it is. But one of us is going to die first. Right. And we don't know who that is.
Of course.
And it could ultimately be that I am ending up alone yet again. And what is my relationships like to myself?
Yeah.
I may not revisit this again for another, let's say I start a relationship this year. I might not revisit this again for another 10 or 15 or 20 years.
Totally.
And so cultivating how to be alone.
I love the way you put cultivating how to be alone. I love that framework.
Because not everyone can be. And we don't really think about the fact that we might actually be at some point in our life.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's maybe common thought that you will be in your your late teens, your early 20s as you're trying to figure things out and dating people and all of that. I'm not saying everyone figures it out at a certain time. I'm just saying at different parts of your lifespan, it's maybe more considered that you might be alone.
Right.
And so no one really ever prepares you for being alone as an adult.
Totally. Yeah, it's a really great point.
Because you are going to at some point be alone.
Be alone. Yeah. That reminds me of, one of the things that started Casey and I going to couples counseling is the difference between enmeshment and differentiation, if you're familiar.
Oh, please do tell us.
In a nutshell, I mean,
I know what enmeshment is, but
differentiation is essentially, I'm way oversimplifying, but the opposite.
Okay.
Enmeshment, I have an emotional response to Casey's emotional response, and then we're in this spiral, and we feel like we are kind of one and the same, right? We can't
do anything without each other.
Right. I couldn't say, okay, Casey, you can be pissed off, and I'm going to be over here doing just fine. That would be like a boiled down version of differentiation.
You're pissed off, so now I'm upset.
Right. And now you're upset that I'm upset.
And I need to solve this. And
right. Yeah. And then it gets real messy. Yeah. And then it's like, why are we even fighting in the first place or whatever, And the work of differentiation for us has been a version, I guess that's what's reminding me of, a version of how to live alone, how to be alone, because there's an aloneness in, okay, you feel this way, I'm going to feel this way, and these two can be on opposite ends of the spectrum and can exist at the same time. So there's a separateness, which is different, obviously, than being alone. But I think we're starting to teach ourselves, what does it mean to not feel the same things or think the same things?
Or be a separate entity in this partnership that then has its own identity that we feed, but we're not,
Totally. Yeah, it's not, codependency obviously plays into enmeshment and, all these kinds of things.
Well, we also are codependent.
Totally. Right. There's healthy codependence for sure. I
think it gets a very negative rap.
I totally agree. I very much agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I guess that's what brought to mind when you said that, because I think it's a version of that, so in theory, if one of us is gone, well, we've been establishing, what does it mean to just be me without someone else, but it is tricky. Yeah. And then it, of course, brings up the fear of, but I don't want him to go,
Yeah.
So,
of course.
Obviously, everything else.
Yeah. No one ever wants anyone to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me check on the time. Oh, we're so good.
Look at us, so good.
I know. It's a great way to end, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. I love talking with you. Yeah. It's really wonderful.
Stirred. I feel very excited and grateful.
Good. You're welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your vulnerability and sharing about your childhood and sharing about the things that you're working on still, and
will always be.
Well, not that we're trying to perfect you, but that there are things that are resonant within you that are still active and get activated.
Totally.
And that's really real. I think people need to hear that just because you're an internal family systems coach doesn't mean you have it all figured out and your life is super perfect and it's rainbows and butterflies and you never have any issues.
Far from the truth.
You and Casey get along all the time.
Right. We're just totally amazed. Nope.
And now that you have this tool and framework that you totally have it all figured out. Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I appreciate your authenticity.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting this podcast. Your presence here means the world to me, and I'm truly grateful for your time and energy. If this conversation resonated with you or sparked any questions, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from each of you. Your insights, experiences, and curiosities always enrich this space. It's important to remember that trauma, often unseen and unacknowledged, can keep us from living fully in our joy. Through my intuitive healing process, I help release the weight of generational trauma, empowering you to reconnect with your true self and experience life in greater harmony. If you feel called to explore this deeper work, I invite you to book a one-on-one intuitive session or even embark on a personalized journey with a Phoenix immersion, a 2-day retreat designed to support profound transformation. You can find all the details below. For those who've liked, subscribed, or left comments already, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your engagement means everything, and I'm deeply grateful for the connection we're building in this community. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I'm excited for all the healing and transformation we'll continue to explore together. As always, I'm forever grateful for you, and I cannot wait to see what unfolds next. Take care, and until next time.